Let's go ahead and talk about the September 23rd, 2025 episode of NXT. Now we kick off the show where we see Femi and Trick Williams arriving to the arena, but we see a bunch of TNA superstars walking behind them. So yeah, they're watching them. So yeah, that's right in there. But then we get to the first match of the night. It was Alexis King versus Miles Bourne in a lights out match. So yeah, we get to this match, no disqualification and all that. And yeah, this match, it was pretty good for the most part. Both of these guys beating the hell out of each other with a bunch of weapons. In this one, we start getting towards the ending of this match where we see Alexis King taking control of this match, and then he was trying his finish move onto Miles Bourne on the steel steps, but then Miles Bourne counters that into a DDT on the steel steps, and then Alexis King got back up to his feet, but he's standing on the steel steps, and there's a table on the other side, and we see Miles Bourne his Born Again onto Alexis King through the table, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Miles Bourne defeated Alexis King tonight in the Lights Out match on NXT. Now, before the match even started, Miles Bourne did attack Alexis King while Alexis King was doing his entrance, so that did happen before and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, for the match and everything, I'll give it 3.5 stars. I'll give it 3 stars. That's why I'll give it. It was a pretty good match. But yeah, then after that, we see Stevie Turner and Mr. Stone talking to Ava on the phone. Ava's not there, and they was talking about did she invite some TNA wrestlers there on NXT, and her phone was cutting out, so she couldn't understand them. So yeah, that's what happened there. And then we see a bunch of TNA wrestlers backstage. But yeah, up next we'll be hearing from the NXT North American Champion Ethan Page up next on NXT, and then later on tonight in the main event it will be Femi versus Trick Williams for title later on tonight in the main event. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT, we get to the next segment of the night where we see the NXT North America Champion All Ego Ethan Page. He comes out there and he was talking about how he done beat Tyler Breeze last week on NXT Homecoming to retain the NXT North America Championship, and he says that he'll be defending his NXT North America Championship at No Mercy against Tavion Heights. So yeah, that's what he was talking about there. But then he turns his attention to Dr. Wagner Jr., where he was sitting in the crowd, and he starts blaming him for him not having 2 belts, and he could have held 2 belts at Worlds Collide, but Dr. Wagner Jr. pretty much cost him the match. So yeah, that's what Ethan Page was blaming him about, and he starts calling him into the ring to pretty much have a little quick match against him. And then Dr. Wagner Jr. comes in there, and he starts beating down Ethan Page, locking on ankle lock and making him tap out. There was a referee, and the match already ended. So yeah, that's what happened there. I wouldn't even consider it a match, but that's what happened there. Ethan Page tapped out, and he was holding his ankle, all hurt and everything. And then Dr. Wagner Jr. unmasked himself, and it was Tavion Heights. So yeah, Tavion Heights done made Ethan Page tap out going into their match at No Mercy this Saturday. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah. Then after that, we get to a backstage segment from earlier today where Jordan Grace was talking to Ariana Grace backstage, and pretty much got a match against each other later on tonight on NXT. So yeah, that match is actually up next. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT, we get to the next match of the night. It was Candice LeRae versus Lainey Reed 1-on-1. Now, winner of this match faces Oruka this Saturday at No Mercy for the NXT Speed Championship. So yeah, we get to this match, and this match, it was okay. It was back and forth and everything. Both of these women coming up near falls a lot of times in this one. And then at the ending, we see Lainey Reed hitting a knee to the face onto Candice LeRae, pinning her for the 3 count. So yeah, Lainey Reed defeated Candice LeRae tonight in a 1-on-1 match, and now she will go on to No Mercy to face Oruka for the NXT Women's Speed Championship. So yeah, the title will be on the line. And then we see Oruka standing on that platform staring down at Lainey Reed holding up the championship. So yeah, that's what happened there for that match. I'll give it 1 star. That's why I'll give that one. But then after that, we see Jada Parker talking about Lash Legend, how she's going to go after her pretty soon. And then after that, we see Lyra Valkyria on NXT, and she was talking to Tatum Paxley backstage and all that stuff. And Tatum Paxley was talking about being friends with Lyra, and Lyra was talking about the same thing, talking about Bayley and everything. So that's what's going on there. And then Izzy Dame comes up. Izzy Dame done pulled Tatum Paxley away from Lyra Valkyria and said to Tatum that, she'll betray her once again. So yeah, that's what Izzy Dame hightails Tatum and pulls her away from Lyra. But yeah, up next it will be Jordynne Grace versus Ariana Grace one-on-one up next on NXT. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT, we get to the next match of the night. It was Jordynne Grace versus Ariana Grace one-on-one. We get to this match. Ariana Grace trying to do everything that she could do to try to beat down Jordynne, but the Jordynne starts coming back, hitting a spinebuster onto Ariana Grace, then picks her up like a torture rack and then turns it into a power bomb. And then she pins Ariana Grace for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Jordynne Grace defeated Ariana Grace tonight in a one-on-one match. That's what happened there, and then we see Channing Stacks Lorenzo checking on Ariana Grace at ringside and everything. They date in real life, and he was checking on her outside the ring. But while that's going on, we see Blake Monroe coming down there with a trash can and some weapons, and she gets into the ring, and both Jordynne Grace and Blake Monroe's about to brawl, and security's trying to hold him back. And then we see Mr. Stone and Stevie Turner coming out there, and they make a match official at No Mercy that it'll be Blake Monroe versus Jordynne Grace, but inside a steel cage with a bunch of weapons. So yeah, that's what's going on there, and that match is now made official for No Mercy this Saturday. So yeah. But for the match between Jordynne Grace and Ariana Grace, I'll give it all 2 stars. That's what I'll give it, but that's what happened there. Or I'll give it 1.5 stars. But yeah, that's what happened there. And then after that, we see Lainey Reed getting interviewed, and she was talking about how she's going to win the Speed Championship this Saturday at No Mercy. And then Fatal Influence runs across, and they was talking about how good Lainey Reed is. So yeah, that's what happened there, and congratulating her and saying that they know that she's going to beat Sol Ruca this Saturday at No Mercy. So yeah, that's what happened there. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT, we get to the next segment of the night where we see the NXT Women's Champion, Jacy Jayne. She comes out there to the ring and she starts talking about Lola Vice and what happened last week on NXT and everything, where she was talking about how she did get pinned from Rhea Ripley, but it was all because of Lola Vice, where she hit the back fist on her, and she says that that won't be happening again because she says that she'll be retaining her Women's Championship this Saturday at No Mercy. And then Jacy Jayne was talking about how she worked so hard to become the NXT Women's Champion, got where she's at now, and she says that Lola Vice has been only trying to get to the top by shaking her ass, while Jacy Jayne herself has been working her ass off. So yeah, that's what she says there, saying about Lola Vice there, and why she'll be retaining the NXT Women's Championship at No Mercy. But then Lola Vice comes out there, and Lola Vice was talking about how she's going to be doing it for her family and all that stuff, and how she bust her ass to get where she's at now. And she says that this Saturday at No Mercy, she'll become the new NXT Women's Champion. And then Jacy Jayne starts talking about how much of a disappointment Lola Vice will be to her family when she loses to her this Saturday at No Mercy. And then Lola Vice hits a back fist onto Jacy Jayne, laying her out, sending a message to her, and then she holds up the NXT Women's Championship. So yeah, that's what happened there. Pretty good segment there. Setting up their match for No Mercy this Saturday for the title. But yeah, up next will be a 6-man tag team match. It will be Dark State versus Joe Hendry and Chase U up next in a 6-man tag match. And later on tonight in the main event, Trick Williams will be defending the TNA World Heavyweight Championship up against Femi, where Femi will be defending the NXT Championship later on tonight in the main event. So yeah, title for title in the main event. But yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT, we get to the next match of the night. It was Dion Lennox, Osiris Griffin, and Saquon Sugars with Cutler James at ringside. Dark State versus Kel Dixon, Aura Connors with Andre Chase at ringside, Chase U, and Joe Hendry in a 6-man tag team match. So yeah, we get to the 6-man tag team match. In this match, it was pretty good for the most part. Joe Hendry's team and Chase U was doing pretty good up against Dark State, but then Dark State starts coming back. We see Cutler James interfering by getting up on the ring apron, distracting the referee a lot of times in this one, and that gave him the numbers advantage of Dark State taking control of this and hitting Connors with their tag team finisher move, where they tossed him in the air, with Saquon Sugars hitting the powerbomb onto him, pinning him for the 1, 2, 3. So yeah, Dark State defeated Chase U and Joe Hendry tonight in the 6-man tag team match. So that's what happened there. Pretty good 6-man tag team match. For that match, I'll give it 3 stars. That's what I'll give it. But yeah, Dark State picks up another victory tonight on NXT. But yeah, that's what happened there. And still to come later on tonight, we're going to be seeing Femi versus Trick Williams in a title for title match later on tonight in the main event and much more. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Till then. So the next thing to happen on NXT. Now, before we talk about the main event for tonight, we got to talk about a couple of backstage segments. Like we see Javon Evans getting interviewed, and he was talking about how he's going to be dealing with Josh Briggs this Saturday at No Mercy. But while he was getting interviewed, all of a sudden we hear someone getting attacked from backstage, and it was Jasmine Nix. She was laid out. Jacy Jayne comes up to Fallon Henley, asks Fallon what happened to Jasmine, and she says that she don't know. She just left for a minute, and Jacy Jayne says that she was a weak link anyways. So, yeah, and then they walked off. But, yeah, it looks like Jasmine Nix is now out of Fatal Influence, and Fallon Henley agreed. But, yeah, then after that, we get to the main event. It was the NXT champion, Femi, versus the TNA World Heavyweight Champion, Trick Williams, in a title-for-title match. Both titles is on the line for this one. In this match, it was a pretty good one. A bunch of the TNA superstars was watching this match, and the crowd and everything. We see Cedric Alexander, Mike Santana came out on commentary at one point, and yeah, this match, it was a really good one. It was back and forth and everything. At one point, Trick hit the trick shot onto Oba. He pins him. 1, 2. Oba barely kicked out at 2. Oba at one point hits the pop-up powerbomb onto Trick. He pinned him. 1, 2. Trick barely kicked out at 2. So yeah, it was just back and forth and everything. But then Trick and Oba ends up outside of the ring, and Trick was taking control of this match. He goes up to Mike Santana and slaps the hell out of him. And then Mike Santana starts attacking Trick, which leads into a disqualification. So it ends in a no contest, I guess, or Trick Williams won. But Femi retains his NXT Championship, and Trick Williams retains his TNA World Heavyweight Championship. And then we see a bunch of the TNA superstars getting into the ring, and everyone's brawling. And the same for the NXT superstars as well, and everyone's going at it inside the ring. But then we see Ricky Saints coming out there, and he stares at the NXT Championship and puts his hands on it. And then we see Femi grabbing onto the NXT Championship, staring at each other face to face while the show is going off the air with everyone brawling in the background. So yeah, that's what happened there. Crazy ending to NXT for that match. I'll give it all 3.5 stars. That's why I'll say that was probably match of the night right there. But yeah, decent episode of NXT. I'll give it all 7.5 stars. That's why I'll give it. That was the go home show for No Mercy. But yeah, there's been my NXT reviews. Like, subscribe to TNW Wrestling on YouTube. Subscribe to my other channel, Word of Chris, and subscribe to my other YouTube channel. Follow me on all my social media accounts. I'll be down there in the description box, and I'll see you guys later for tomorrow night's AEW Dynamite reviews. See you guys later. Till then.